So the president's safe school czar, Kevin Jennings, is under fire yet again. Now, Jennings founded the organization GLISTEN, which is dedicated to promoting safe schools and served as its executive director for many years. Now, the organization compiles a list of books that it says advances its mission to create safe schools. Now, books that the group thinks that grade children should be reading in order to improve their educational environment. Now, here's a taste of what is in those books. Now, one book recommended for students in grades 7 through 12 includes this passage. By first grade, I was sexually active with many friends. In fact, a small group of us regularly met in the grammar school lavatory to perform fellatio on one another. Another book tackles the subject of incest and seems to send the message that it's just fine. Quote, the relationship I had with my cousin was very, very twisted. It feels rather disgusting, but I think that you're going to fall in love with whomever you're going to fall in love with. So does somebody who advocates for educating children with this sort of material have any business being a safe school czar? Joining me now with reaction is the author of the New York Times bestseller, Culture of Corruption. Michelle Malkin is back with us. Michelle, just for the sake of the audience, I saw this first. This was Gateway Pundit reported. You reported on your website. I cannot read most of the material that you put up on your website. Why don't you, to the extent that you can, describe how bad it is?
Well, this recommended reading list by GLISTEN, the Gay, Lesbian, Straight Education Network, is not safe for TV, certainly not safe for schools, certainly not safe for children at whom it is aimed. And Gateway Pundit, which is linked on my site at michellemalkin.com, biggovernment.com, Scott Baker, a group of investigative conservative bloggers, the only people who will touch this story along with you and talk radio, Sean, delved into these materials, and this is only the 7th through 12th grade reading list. This group has its own separate list for younger kids from kindergarten to 6th grade, and goodness knows what's in those as well. You've only touched the surface, and again, Sean, because it's very difficult to talk about this on TV, and that's what makes this whole thing so insidious. They know that they're immunized because so few people will talk about it, but we're talking about bathroom sex between school-aged kids, preschoolers and first graders, promotion of promiscuity, promotion of prostitution, all sorts of perverse and vile sexual practices under the guise of diversity, tolerance, and safety. This is something that's been going on a long time. Kevin Jennings was head of GLISTEN from its inception as a national group in 1995 until 2008, still will not answer questions about this, along with the other lurid background that you've highlighted over the last several months, involving his inspiration by a guy who was closely associated with NAMBLA. Yeah, that's right, and along with his bad judgment, which he did admit, in failing to report the predation of a teenager who came to him and said that he was having a sexual relationship with an older man.
Let me remind the audience what we're talking about here. This is a guy who praised this guy, well-known associate, and apparently we have evidence that he knew of the association of Harry Hay and his support of NAMBLA, the North American Man-Boy Love Association. This is our safe school czar. This is a guy that recommended to a sophomore in high school that admitted he was having a sexual relationship with an older individual. Well, I hope you used a condom. And I have been calling for his firing. Now with this new material, clearly I don't think there's anybody that has a conscience that could not see through this radical agenda. Why has there been so little coverage of this extremist that the president put in this position? You know, supposedly, I call him the dangerous school czar. Why has there been so little coverage of this and so few people willing to step out and say he ought to be fired?
Well, I think that we need to call out our colleagues in the mainstream media. I think that there is a great amount of moral cowardice going on. And I think that the people who are behind this radical agenda of, quote-unquote, queering the schools, that's what GLISTEN and Kevin Jennings have been about since they founded GLISTEN, know that they can intimidate, bully, and pretty much cow people into silence about this. Parents cannot be silent. Every parent in America needs to read what what's in these materials from 7th to 12th grade and take a look at K through 6 as well. And they need to look at the kits that have been disseminated at these conferences. Where's the accountability for this? Arnie Duncan, I'm talking to you. You're the education secretary. He has said that he stands by Kevin Jennings because he believes that he has the experience to keep schools safe. As you say, Sean, this man is very dangerous and a menace.
But the extent to which the left-wing, radical left-wing bloggers have gone to defend him. For example, his praise of Harry Hay. Oh, he wasn't praising Harry Hay, the NAMBLA supporter. He was praising Harry Hay, the gay rights advocate. For example, or in the case, well, there were only a limited number of copies distributed. You know, how do you respond to these very lame, pathetic excuses that are being put forth to save this guy from being fired?
Sean, we have to be very unflinching in our scrutiny of this group and its background, and that's why it's so important to bring to light how sexually explicit this material is. This is not about keeping kids safe. This is about proselytization. This is about brainwashing. It is about an ideological agenda, and it's not just the education department that needs to be called to task, but also the many corporations, including KPMG, Pepsi, and Eastman Kodak, which have been funding GLSEN for the last 15, 20 years. Where are they?
All right, Michelle Malkin, it is an outrage. We're going to stay on the story until this guy is fired. Appreciate you being with us. Thank you.